So hi there guys, and welcome back to the channel. For those that don't know me and they're tuned in for the first time, my name is Richard Burkitt. I'm a UK professional wildlife photographer currently living in Ottawa, Canada. So today I want to talk to you about a new section I'm having on my YouTube channel. It's going to be probably every other week. I'm going to do a retro camera review, and this is going to be Canon cameras. So I'm going to be starting from a model back in 2007. And I've been looking through the used market, and I've been picking up some absolute steals with regards to some of the cameras they've got for sale and the price you can pay. You know, you can pay a couple £100 for a camera that used to cost £5,000 in really good condition. And it's the things that I keep an eye on the second-hand market quite frequently. And there really are some deals to be had out there. So I'll go through the companies to use, or I recommend to use, the do's and don'ts, warranties, all that sort of stuff, things to look out for on the cameras themselves, and also a little bit why I like older cameras. I use some of the most up-to-date equipment, the mirrorless. You know, I'm currently a Canon R3 shooter, I've got an R7, and I've still got a lot of DSLRs as well, which I still love and use. But the retro reviews I'm going to start doing, I'm going to go through when it first arrives to me on the door, and I'm going to open it up, check the box, check over the camera, have a look and see what we've got. A lot of the time, they state the cameras as being well used, good condition, very good condition, excellent, mint, etc., as new and all that sort of stuff. We'll just run through. Every company has different. Some have a 1 to 10, 10 being the best as new, and then 9, 9 minus, etc. Some have very good plus, very good plus plus. It's all quite confusing. So We'll go through some of those and just what to look out for as well with the camera. So for me guys, I sold all my DSLRs back in the day, and I went over to the mirrorless system completely. But since that point, I've been mirrorless now for about 2 years. I actually went out and bought all the cameras that I previously owned. So I'm buying up all the cameras that I started off with. I'm not going back any earlier than 2007. So I'm starting with a particular model that came out in 2007, and I'll be doing a retro review on that very soon. So I'll be doing my wildlife photography in the field videos, and then every other week I'll do a retro review in there as well. So I'll still keep with the wildlife photography videos, and then the following week hopefully I'll have a retro review. Either a camera or a lens, okay, just to show what you can get for your money. It is one of those guys that not everybody can afford the latest and best equipment, you know, and these cameras came out when they did over the years, and they came out and they were at the top of their game, so they still take incredibly good images. They don't take any worse images now than they did back then. There are differences now, and you can't argue the fact. Video capabilities are massive in these cameras these days, up to 8K, 60 frames, you know, amazing. You know, the megapixel count hasn't really gone that crazy, to be perfectly honest, apart from some of the Nikon models and some of the Canon models, Sony, etc., are quite high pixel count, but that's if you want to be on the pixel race, really. For me, I'm shooting with the R3, 24 million pixels, happy days, you know. So, and low light capabilities, silent shutter, massive bonuses there with the mirrorless system over the DSLR. But if you're a shooter and you're shooting not wildlife and you're shooting portrait, landscape, you don't need a silent shutter. You probably don't need video, you know. So these cameras offer potentially amazing, amazing value. And I think, you know, for people starting out in photography, there is some absolute steals there. It breaks my heart to think that I paid sort of £5,000–6,000 for a camera 10 years ago that I can pick up now for £300–400. It's absolutely scandalous, but you know, that's the way it is. And we'll go through some of the companies that I have used over the years, and I can wholeheartedly recommend those companies. I don't buy from eBay at all. I think it's an absolute minefield of a platform, and you never know what you're going to get. And 9 times out of 10, I've been bitten before and I've had to send stuff back and it's taken ages. I absolutely steer away from eBay. Totally now. I don't even look at it. And even though there's some amazing deals on there, you end up with a bag of nuts and bolts sometimes. It's just awful. So for me, I stick with a reputable company, and we'll talk about some companies in the UK, Europe, worldwide, and I'm here in North America, so we'll talk about some of the companies in North America as well. And yeah, we'll go through that, and hopefully that will allow you then to be in the best position when you want to pass over your hard-earned cash to then buy yourself a new outfit for your photography. Okay, so we're going to go through the companies now in the UK that I've been using over the years, and I would wholeheartedly recommend those companies. So guys, here we are. This is one of the companies I use. This is Ext Photo Video. This is in no particular order, guys. This is some of the companies I use, and Ext Photo Video are a particularly good company. They've been out there a long, long time, and they are brilliant. Any problems with anything you buy from them, especially in the used department, they get it done pretty swiftly. Okay, it's quite easy to use. You've got different menu systems there. Anything second-hand, select your manufacturer. Canon, second-hand, 220 bodies there. You've got a list down the side here. Select which camera you're looking at. Go to it. Usually they have pictures, sometimes unavailable if they're new in, and they're condition 7, condition 9 plus, condition 9 minus. You go in there, have a look at the camera. It tells you what shutter count it's done, supplied with what bits, and then you can zoom into various areas around the camera. And then they just show you some other pictures, definitely the bottom, a lot of shining and wear around the edges. Okay, so that's one thing. Back to use section there. Canon, Nikon, Sony, Olympus, Panasonic, whatever. It's all there. You go in, have a look, and then job done. Okay, so that's one of the companies there. Ext, really, really good. Never really had any major issues with them, really. A couple of times I've had a few little nicks and bangs that we didn't declare, and they've managed to give me a little bit off for that. Okay, next one, MPB Photographic. You can go to the relevant cameras, or you just type in the search engine what you're looking for. So Canon 1DX, up they come, 10 available. We've got all the marks there, 1, 2, and 3. So we look at it, 10 plus available, go in. The highest one usually is the best condition, but that's not always the case. I've had ones that have been good condition, that have been better condition than an excellent condition, and they've got all the bits. The reason why that's probably excellent is because the shutter count's so low, and this one's quite high. So just be aware to look at each individual one. The condition actually might be better on a camera that's not classed as excellent. I've had a camera that's been well used before. Obviously, they're very high actuations there, but I've had cameras that have been well used, that have been better condition than an excellent. So just be careful and have a good look through about what you're buying, and try to get the box and everything included and all the accessories. Okay, LCE, another great company there. Second-hand equipment, quite straightforward. Type in your make, Canon, all types, DSLR, mirrorless, etc. You can put in the make and model, so I'll put in 1DX again, search now. There we go, brings up all the marks. And LCE particularly good. They're pretty good on their accuracy as well, and they're pretty good on their pictures. Another good company to use. You can bring up the pictures of the cameras, have a good look through, and as I say, you can, that looks pretty clean. Say the bottoms of the corners here usually are a little bit worn in areas, but that's something to bear in mind. Okay, so that's London Camera Exchange, really, really good, and I've bought some great stuff off them over the years. Park Cameras, another good company you can deal with for the used section. I haven't actually bought any used stuff off Park Cameras, but they are a reputable company in the UK and well worth a look as well. Quite self-explanatory there, and they're a good solid company and really good to deal with. And I've dealt with Ford's Photographic up in Scotland, and I bought recently a camera off them. I bought I won't name it because that's one of my retro reviews, but I bought a camera off them, and they were particularly good and great customer service as well. So guys, that's literally 5 of the companies that I use in the UK. As I said, MPB you can use pretty much globally, in Europe, certainly in North America, and obviously other companies that you could use yourselves. But these guys, from my dealings with, have been absolutely fantastic. So well worth a look, guys. I'd just like to say, guys, as well, that I'm not endorsed, sponsored, or anything by any of these companies. I've not had a discount, been given anything. This is just my own personal experience and my own recommendation. You know, I'm in no way trying to influence you on a buy from these companies. This is just my personal opinion, just to share my experience dealing with these companies for probably over the last 20 odd years, some of them. So yeah, and they've been absolutely fantastic. So one of the other reasons why I'm buying old cameras is that I love camera technology. I'm a bit of a collector when it comes to cameras, especially the digital era. And I've started then, as I said before, collecting cameras that I first owned. It's very nostalgic, I suppose. I love the images they produce. It's not just about the the cameras themselves. It's just, sometimes I personally think you get such better images sometimes from the old DSLRs. Some of the sensors there, the CMOS sensors, etc. I mean, there's some way they render the colours, nice and soft, subtle colours, the depth of colour on some of them. You really do get some fantastic images. And that's one thing I'm going to do as well when I do the retro reviews, is I'm going to then put up some examples of pictures I've taken with the camera that I'm reviewing, just to show you, and with all the specs as well on how they were shot, what ISO, etc., just to give you an idea. And another thing as well, with today's modern denoise software that a lot of the companies advertise, is that you can recover some really old images that were really quite grainy all those years ago, that you took the image and you were like, oh my god, it was an amazing image, but it was so pixelated that it was beyond repair. But I've kept loads of those and I've run those through some of this software now, and that's as far as I go with AI on cleaning up a high pixelated image, just to recover that noise. Then I do. But obviously I've seen some amazing results on some of the older camera models I've had, down to like below 10 million pixel cameras, and they've looked absolutely fantastic. So there's a lot to be said for that. So I love the old tech, I really do, and I think it has a massive place in today's market. There are some negatives about buying some of the used tech, and we'll go into those a bit later on. So MPB have been going for a long time now, and they are based pretty much one of the most popular companies to deal with worldwide. So here in North America, MPB are quite big players. You've got Key cameras, you've got Kijiji, we've got it on which is a second-hand market. I'm loath to deal with that one. Key cameras as well. But the only trouble is, now I'm not trying to have a go at the North American second-hand camera market directly, but they're set up for selling second-hand equipment for all these companies. Apart from MPB, you buy from anywhere else and you go to their second-hand site, they are terrible. You don't see the camera you're going to get. You don't get a full description. You get a camera, you've got no idea what it's going to look like. At least with things like MPB, what you see online, and there'll be 3, 4, 5 pictures on there, what you see is the camera you're going to receive. You can zoom in, you can copy the pictures on the screen, you can zoom in, you can scroll around, you can look at every little bit of that camera, and that's what you're going to get, because you get the bottom of the camera with the serial number on it. When you get it through the door that you can check that camera serial number to make sure it matches the one that you bought. And a lot of these other companies in North America, I've looked at buying second-hand cameras from those companies. Whilst I'm here in North America, it would make more sense. I haven't, because they've been so bad. You can't see what you're buying, and it is a bit of a gamble. You don't give you a full description of what's in there. And if I'm buying a camera, I want to have the box and all the bits with it. I want to have the original box, the manual, the straps, the leads, the CDs, the booklets, whatever. I love to have the whole thing complete. And then when I come to sell that again, it's more sellable because you've got all that bits with it. So I've been buying all mine from companies back in the UK and getting them shipped to me here in Canada, or I'm getting them shipped to a relative's address back in the UK, and then I'm getting them sent to me from there. I have dealt with MPB in America, and they've been pretty good. But another thing there is the taxes and stuff in this country are pretty steep. So you're paying and loading up on tax. Some of them you can pay the tax when you buy the item, so it gets sent through and it does all the customs clearance for you. It is all quite confusing, but there's another thing to bear in mind if you're buying from an overseas company, is you may have taxes on top. So look carefully into that when you do buy. Yeah, so now we're going to go over a camera. This is not a retro camera. This is the last in the line DSLR for Canon. It's the 1DX Mark III. I'm just going to go over it just as an example of what to look for when you are buying a second-hand camera. So guys, here we are. Here's a Canon 1DX Mark III, which is the last and top of the line DSLR that Canon have made. This camera I bought from Wex Photo Video in the UK, and to be honest guys, this was described as well-used condition, but I looked at the pictures online and I thought that is no way well used. That is in amazing condition. I would have probably given this a 9- maybe. This was classed as a condition 7. The screens are fully intact with no scratches on whatsoever. The body itself is absolutely cracking condition. So I was absolutely over the moon. I mean, I should have paid at least £1,000 more for this camera, but I didn't, and I got it as a great deal. And there are deals to be had out there, guys. Sometimes, sadly, with a lot of camera manufacturers, when they do send the cameras through, when they get them in second hand for trading, they don't clean them up. They just test them, make sure they're working, and that's it. So they've got dirt, they've got a bit of white patches on it, a bit of salt, maybe spray. You know, they look like a bag of when you get them, but you get them back to your house, you open them up and you give them a damn good clean. And my gosh, all those little marks that you saw on the screen when you were looking at buying it are just superficial and they're not really anything to worry about, and you just wipe them free. So here we have the Canon 1DX Mark III. So the shutter life for this camera, it's one thing to bear in mind. Shutter life for this camera is 500,000 actuations. So this camera has done 120,000 actuations in its life. So clearly there are stacks of life left in the camera. Now, they can go well beyond that. They can go beyond 1 million, you know, and you may need to get a new mirror replacement, etc. But to be honest, this is done hardly any, and it's an absolute steal. The only little mark I had is a slight bit of shining on the corner there, which is just a very light shine. And apart from that, it is in great condition. So first things to check, guys, on your camera when you get it, and if you're looking secondhand, you're in the shop, you want to go and buy it, is you want to make sure, cosmetically as well, that it's looking pretty good. A lot of this on the grips here, you've got to make sure that the grip is intact and it's stuck down to the camera. When it starts to peel, it really can start to go. Now that's easily fixed. You can get that looked at and get that replaced and stuck down by a camera company. Canon will still do this as a service and a repair, so that's absolutely fine. Or you could do it yourself, and there's plenty of stuff online as well. So we're looking at the overall cosmetics at the front there. Absolutely beautiful condition. Nothing wrong with that at all. No scratches, no marks. All the buttons are functional. You have to make sure when you've got the camera on that the buttons all work, and they should do as well. You want to check here as well. So around the bayonet connector there, where the camera's connected, you want to make sure that it's pretty much silver all the way around. If it starts to get really, really worn, you get the brass coming through and showing. You want to make sure the mirror's in good condition and make sure the focus screen, etc., is all in good condition, free from debris. If you look through the eyepiece, you can then check to see if there's any debris and stuff in there. You want to make sure there's no fungus in the viewfinder. Put that back on, stop the dust getting in. And if you look through and you've given it a blow through and there's still some stuff on there, then you can look at getting a sensor clean. Not all cameras come with a sensor clean. If you've got any major problems, you can send it back. I have sent this a previous camera back to a Wex photo video because I had dust on the sensor and it said the sensor was free from scratches and dust. It wasn't. I sent it back. They give it a sensor clean and they sent it straight back, and that's didn't cost me a penny. So it's one of those things, peace of mind when you deal with those companies. Okay, so we looked at the front. It's all good. Everything's fine. Big thing here as well, guys, is just to make sure that you've checked all of these undo the rubber caps. Check to make sure that everything is in the correct condition. Make sure the USBs work. Make sure the Ethernet connector port's working. Make sure that's working. I never use it anyway. Flash, you've got your remote control. Make sure all those pins are intact and in good condition. Wi-Fi transmitter there, mics, etc. They all work. When you've got it on, check the functionality of the buttons at the back. You can give it a little bit, you get a little bit of dust and debris in there. You can give those a clean through with a brush and a blower. Get rid of those. Okay, just make sure all these buttons work. Make sure the wheels turn freely and there's no major issues there. Make sure you take that off, have a look around, make sure the diopter adjuster's there and that all works, which it does. Look at the hot shoe, make sure the hot shoe's okay, no real problems there. Make sure the screens are free from chips and scratches. I've now fitted these with some screen protectors now. So these are fitted, so just in case I do, sadly, it does happen, you get scratches and hopefully that'll stop. You can get those on Amazon and stuff like that. So looking around, camera, all good condition, no major snags there. One big thing as well, guys, is always make sure that when you get, this one takes CF Express Type B cards, just to make sure that when you put those cards in there, that those cards both work, okay? If you, sometimes people put them in too hard, you get bent pins in there, that can then have a major snag with the camera and that's quite a costly repair. So make sure both of those work and make sure they're functional and their door locks correctly. and it springs open nicely. On the earlier models, they didn't spring out as well as that. They just popped up a little bit. So just make sure that's all good to go. Okay, areas are prone to going is the corners. Shining, heavy shining. This is not fitted with a battery. It's got this transit cap on. You get heavy shining around the edge of the camera for prolonged use. I had a little bit of slight movement there on the corner with the bottom of the grip, just around there where you attached a strap to. But I've actually stuck that down myself, and that's the only little mark is that little mark there. So that's things to bear in mind, guys. Just make sure mechanically all of this works, the functionality all works fine. Go through the menu systems, check there's no blown pixels at the back, and make sure the lights work on there, all the buttons are fine, and you're all good to go. Okay, that's some of the things to check really when you're looking at the camera. I think you'll agree, guys, this was an absolute steal. What I paid for it. It is a great condition camera, an absolute beast to use, and I really do enjoy using this camera alongside my R3. But that's just some things you really need to keep an eye on, guys. Just make sure that cosmetically the camera is up to scratch, and there's nothing wrong with buying one that's been a bit beaten. You know, as long as it's still working, and you're going to pay a lot less money for them. But it's one of those things just to bear in mind, is that you get what you pay for at the end of the day. If you can afford a little bit more to get one in better condition, that's all the better really. So guys, another thing that's not like vitally important is batteries. So batteries obviously only last a short amount of time, so probably just only a few years. One thing to check when you're actually getting your camera is to make sure that it's got quite a lot of recharge performance left. Generally it gives you a level of 1 to 3 on some batteries, and you can refresh those batteries and then recharge them back up again. But notoriously they do lose power over time. So for me, it's good to have a battery at least midway to upper way. And if it doesn't, you know, you just have to replace your batteries. It's one of those things that it's not really a deal breaker for me. And sometimes some of the cameras, the batteries are aftermarket batteries. So I always like to get the original batteries. The aftermarket ones, sadly, after about 6 months, don't hold their charge very long. And notoriously, they fail on you, and especially when you're out shooting and they go down. So always a good thing, check the battery, make sure it's got a little bit of life left in it. If it hasn't, it's completely depleted, maybe talk to the company if they can do something about it. If not, it's got at least half charge in it, and then you can refresh the battery, and sometimes you can have that battery for at least 6 months. But just something to bear in mind, guys, is the battery is just, they don't last forever, and you may have to invest a little bit more money into getting another battery. Same with the CMOS batteries in some of the old cameras. You have a circular battery, usually a CR2025 or 23. Sometimes you have to replace those batteries, and they last sometimes up to 5 to 10 years. That might be a consideration as well. But it's not a deal breaker at the end of the day, because batteries need to be replaced anyway. But for me, it's always good when you get one through and you've got plenty of charge left on it. Further to that as well, things like firmware updates, that's not really a deal breaker. It's not the latest firmware. You get the camera through, you go online, go to the correct manufacturing page, and then download the firmware update from there. So just a few other things just to bear in mind that you might want to look at when you're looking at a second-hand camera and when it comes through. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that just quick run through of the Canon 1D X3 there. That's some of the things to look for really. As I said, primarily when you're looking through that eyepiece, just to make sure that there's no fungus and debris in there. It's not going to affect your images, and neither will it if it's on the mirror or on the focus screen, but it will be if it's on the sensor. So just make sure that sensor is free from dust and scratches. Sometimes when people have tried to remove dust spots and stuff from their sensor, they've done it themselves and they've gone ahead and scratched the sensor. That is a costly repair, and I'd steer away from those. But that should be declared in the description of the camera, and that's what you'll get when you're dealing with reputable companies, whichever country you live in. As I said, Wex Photo Video, MPB Photographic, London Camera Exchange, these are all great companies that I've used in the UK. So these are obviously pro bodies, so not always used by professionals. You can be an amateur and have one of these. It's not a professional only camera, but try to steer away from the ones that have been absolutely bashed senseless. You know, you get some that have been, people have almost been playing football with them and they are scat to death. really try to steer away from those cameras and try to spend a little bit more on one that's in decent condition. This was described, as I said, as number 7, well used. There's absolutely no way in this world that this camera is in well used condition. This camera is in superb condition, and you know, there are deals to be found there, guys. I think this cost me about £2,000, and I think the best condition ones with a similar shutter count were about 3,400. So they well and truly missed a trick there with that one. And yeah, I really did well with this camera. But you know, when you're looking at them online and you're looking at the pictures, just what I always do is a little tip, is that once you've bought the camera, before you buy it, enlarge all the pictures on the screen. You can select the area and then take a picture of them and save the JPEG pictures on your computer. Take the picture of the serial number, the description and everything. Because once you buy the camera, it disappears from the website. You've got to come back then to match that camera to the description and to match it to the serial number of the camera. And you can zoom in and check it to make sure that when you get your camera through, there's a massive dink on the side that you never saw in the pictures. You can say, hang on a minute, look, it's got a dink on the bottom, but I took this picture of this exact camera and that wasn't on there. So it could have got damaged when it was getting inspected before it was sent. Who knows? But for me, it's just extra caution. I do a lot of buying second-hand kit and I'm all over it, and I've done really, really well. So these little things can help you out massively. So steer away from those hardened, bashed up Pro models. And also, it's really nice to get a good screen at the back. There's nothing worse as you're looking at your images. You've got a dirty great scratch on your screen. You can get screen replacements. You can get them repaired. But one thing I will say is, guys, that when you do buy an older camera, this is obviously still current, so it's well and truly fine for servicing. But if you buy a camera that's over 10 years old, there's likelihood is that Canon will not service or repair that camera again due to lack of spares and because they just don't. It's a shame that a camera that costs £6,000, they can no longer repair. You know, as I said, we go back to 2007. So now we're talking 17 years there. If my math serves me correctly, 13, so 17 years, and they stop it. It's a shame they couldn't hit it at 15 years when they still do them. But if you get one in decent condition, that hasn't been bashed around with, that hasn't taken many images, that is always, you know, the best ones to go for. Now we have shutter actuations, as I said. This is life for 500,000 shutter actuations, and it's taken 120. It's not to say that you can't buy a camera with higher shutter and it's in very good condition. It's just been used a lot and well looked after. Cosmetically, when you're looking around and it's been scat around a bit, it's got scratch marks everywhere, that's usually the ones that have been heavily used and not respected and looked after. And it's absolutely heartbreaking when you go online and you see a camera that was £7,000 and it's been absolutely smashed around, and it's awful that people treat their cameras like that. They obviously have them from companies buy them, they use them, and they go off and they just treat them terribly. You know, for me, I take care of my equipment big time. So for me, yeah, really, really happy. And this will stay in my camera bag for many years to come. And as you'll see over the retro reviews that are coming very soon, you'll see I've done really, really well. This is the most expensive second-hand camera I've bought at the upper price range. But this isn't a retro camera. This is still a current camera. So, but we'll look forward to going through those cameras a bit later on. But I hope you found that useful, guys. Just remember, you know, those key things. Don't buy a pro heavily used camera. Buy a low shutter count camera, one that's cosmetically in good condition. Check all the buttons, the functionality. Check the flash cards to make sure they work. So the SD or the compact flash or CF Express Type B or CFast or whatever they use, just to make sure that those cards do work. Functionally check it with a lens. Take a few pictures with a lens up against some subjects to make sure that sensor's nicely free. If you do it with a light background, you can see any dust spots appear, any problems there, you can always speak to the company and maybe they'll do a sensor clean free for you. You know, I've had that done before and sent them back and they've sensor cleaned them. So, you know, it's one of those things, that's the comeback you get. But yeah, just check everything on the camera, you know, everything to make sure that you're happy with it. And if you aren't, speak to the company and I'm sure there's a workaround. I've also had camera come through and it's got a list of accessories that's included, and it's turned up and lately I've had a lot of AC cables missing. So the cable to attach to the battery charger. I spoke to the company, they're under £10, they just dispatched one to me. Absolutely brilliant. I had that recently with Wex Photo Video and I had it with MPB Photographic. and they sent me the cables, no problem at all, and they've even offered me an extra £10 off voucher. So talk to the companies, they're very, very good, it's what they do, and they want you to be happy with your purchase. And that's where you get the peace of mind for when you speak to these companies. If you were to go and do it on eBay or buying from somebody through secondhand Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and it was deliverable, and you got it, and it's like, oh my God, that's like horrendous. You know, in small print, you didn't see it's not the actual product, you know, you'd be heartbroken. So you might pay a tiny bit more, but you get peace of mind and you get your warranty. And as I said, guys, you know, the shutter actuation thing isn't the be all and end all, because these will last. I mean, people have done 2 million actuations on these things and they're still going without a shutter replacement. So, you know, they will go on a lot longer, but if the lower the better, you know the camera's hardly been used and it's in great nick. Hope you found it useful, guys. You know, there is probably lots more to it as well, things more to look for, but, you know, you really just need to get to grips with it, have a look around the camera and get those pictures, as I say, when you're looking at it online, when you're buying secondhand, and so you've got a bit of comeback if things turn up and they're not as described. So I hope you found that useful, guys. And now we're going to move on to things like warranty and repair and money back guarantee, etc. So guys, as I said, and I touched on briefly with these companies, most companies give you a 6-month warranty. So MPB, Wex, they all give you generally a 6-month warranty unless otherwise stated. The returns policy, most of them offer a 14-day return with no quibble. So therefore you get the camera through, you have a look at it. If you're happy, brilliant, all good to go. If you're not, you can just send it back with no hassle with the return. Okay, so that's another thing, massive, massive peace of mind. Maybe some of the older bashed up bodies you'll get. You may get a slightly reduced warranty to 3 months or maybe 30 days. It all depends. It will state in the description if it offers anything less than the standard warranty. Just bear that in mind as well, guys. There's also, as I said, the condition. So Wex condition is kind of, it goes from as low as like 3 or 4, I think, all the way up to like 9+ as new, mint. They're generally pretty much on the ball. But as I said, you can get some absolute deals out there if you just shop around and have a look. You know, some of them may look a little bit dirty and grubby and you've got a bit of dirt marks on the grips and stuff. You just get a little toothbrush out, you give it all a clean, and it can absolutely reveal a beautiful camera underneath. And you can actually save yourself a considerable amount of money there. So it's well worth looking into. You know, have a look round, don't get rushed into buying, and just see what you can do as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video there today about what to look for when buying used cameras from reputable online retailers, and also just a few little do's and don'ts and things to check for when you do. Okay, things like cosmetic condition, mechanical operation, warranties, returns policy, all that sort of stuff. And I hope you all can join me for my first retro review coming very soon. Hopefully be able to join me for that. Surprise camera in the box, and I'm going to get that out, have a look, and what we're going to go through is open the box, have a look, we're going to check contents against the contents list that was supposed to come with the camera from the company, talk about the company I bought it for, and then we'll go through all that, check its condition, check its operation, make sure it's all good to go, and then we'll pop a lens on it, go out in the field, take a few shots, see how it goes, and then come back, have a look at those images. I'll also, because I've owned these cameras previously, I'm going to find some of the old images that I took on the computer from long ago, some of the best images I've taken, and display those as well. Have a talk through about the pros and the cons of the camera, some of the plus points, some of the downsides, and obviously things like cost and what to look out for and all that sort of stuff. So, and obviously any questions as well, please, you know, fire them my way if you've got anything you want to see. But I think it's been a bit of fun, you know. We're going to go from sensors as low as 10 million pixels with sensors up to sort of 22, 23. So quite varied range there. And as I said, guys, I've owned all of these cameras before, so I know exactly what they're like. And I'm really, really looking forward to having a go with them all. So I hope you can join me very soon. As I said, guys, I'm going to be doing my usual weekly wildlife in the field here in Canada. And every other week, I'll be doing a retro review on some Canon cameras from old. But thanks very much indeed for watching. Please, any questions, leave them in the vlog description below. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. It's just a little bit of help for you if you're out there and you're looking for a new camera and you want to make sure that you want to buy a good, solid camera. It is a bit of a minefield, and this just might help you out along the way. But as always, guys, thanks very much indeed for watching. I'll see you all next time.